Hello everyone and welcome to Tyrik on the Move.
Now here's the host of Tyrik on the Move, Mr. Tyrik Wynn.
What's up everybody and welcome to another amazing episode of Tyrik on the Move. I am your host Tyrik Wynn and we have another amazing one for you. This past week I went out to the People Station V103 right here in Atlanta, Georgia, on social media at V103. And I had a chance to sit down with the one and only Larry Tinsley from Sunday Morning Praise and Early Morning Praise. So are you listening to Mr. Larry Tinsley on the radio? Hey, that's the question. And if you're not, after this interview, you will most definitely be listening to him every morning from 5 to 6 during the weekdays and from 6 to 12 p.m. on Sundays. So take a look at this amazing and great interview with Mr. Larry Tinsley. What's up everybody, we are here in downtown Atlanta and we're here at V103, the People Station, and I'm sitting down with the one and only Mr. Larry Tinsley. And the big question that I have for you all today is, are y'all getting y'all praise on early in the morning or are you still in the bed asleep? Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Tyrik. Thank you for interviewing me today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I have to tell you, when I went the other day when you had called the number, and you said this is Larry Tinsley, I was like, oh, he's calling me? So I was really excited that you were able to sit down with me and you agreed to do the interview.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Glad that I could assist you and just glad that you thought enough of me to interview me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay. So tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like?
It was very good. I grew up in a small town called Takeover, Tennessee.
Okay.
That's where I was born,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandparents lived there. And at an early age, my parents moved to Knoxville, Tennessee when I was about 6 years old, and lived there for a few years, going back and forth to Decaturville and everything. And just had a wonderful childhood. My grandfather owned a farm,
Mm-hmm.
so we picked the cotton, pulled the corn, fed the chickens and cows and things like that. And but it was a great childhood. And great years in Decaturville and Knoxville, Tennessee as well, where I eventually called home too.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So and Tennessee has been really huge for you. I mean, that's where your career started at.
Right.
And then, so talk about, you were in college and you got that call, to come to the radio station with James Brown and
Right,
stuff. So,
right.
but he did call you early, but you weren't finished, right?
Right, that's true. You've heard my stories on the air,
I
right?
have.
Okay.
I listen.
Well, it all started when I was about 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
There was a station in Knoxville called WSKT Radio. And I was just on a little tour one day at a radio station, and I walked into the studio, and Tyrik, I said, man, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I was just blown away with the equipment, with the personalities that were on the air, and I went back and told my mother. And of course, she became my biggest fan down through the years. And I met a gentleman by the name of Doug Steele. I was an elevator operator at a hotel called the Farragut Hotel in Knoxville. And Doug Steele, who was one of the biggest DJs in Knoxville at the time, he got on the elevator. And I said, Mr. Steele, I said, I want to do what you do someday. And he said, oh, you do? And I said, yes. He said, well, come down to the radio station after your shift.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was there at 6 o'clock on the dot.
Yeah.
And he was waiting on me and took me in the back, and I cut an audition tape. I was ready because I already practiced my skills. And he told me, he said, you radio ready now to go. That was in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you're radio ready? And he said, well, can you go on the air tomorrow night?
Oh.
And they put me on the air the next night, and I was there part-time for the rest of the summer. And I kept my elevator job during the day, and I worked at the radio station from 6 till 9 at night.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a great
But getting back to James Brown,
Yeah.
James Brown happened to be, he owned the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And let me show you how God works.
Yeah.
He flew in on his jet to just check on the radio station. Well, as he was in his limo coming into downtown Knoxville, he was listening to the station. I was on the air. Well, when he came into the radio station, he came in and said, Mr. Tinsley, you sound good on the air. I'm James Brown. And he called everybody Mr., no matter how old you were.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Mr. Tinsley, I want to offer you a full-time job. And I said, well, Mr. Brown, I said, I'm a sophomore in college. I said, I got a full basketball scholarship. Plus, my mother would kill me if I dropped out of college.
That's how they are.
And he said, well, you know what, Mr. Tinsley? He said, when you graduate from college 2 years from now, you got a job with James Brown. And I thought he'd forget all about it. I mean, he's the godfather of soul, right?
Yeah.
He's the biggest man in the music industry. And but I came back the next summer, worked for the radio station. Well, during my last year graduating from Lambert, he came to town with Sam and Dave to Jackson, Tennessee, where I was in college. Well, I was about to graduate. So I worked my way backstage, you know, and he had this entourage around him. And I said, hey, Mr. Brown, remember me? I'm Larry Tinsley. You know, you promised me a job when I graduate, like that. So he threw up his hand and said, just go to the radio station. Your job's waiting on you. I said, he's James Brown, the godfather of soul.
Yeah.
He's not going to remember me. Well, I graduated on a Sunday, went to WJBE Studios on that Monday, and Mr. Al Garner, the manager, said, Mr. Tinsley, we've been expecting you. And they put me on the air, and I've been going ever since. That's the story.
That's a good story. I mean, when you get that opportunity from him,
that's it. Yeah.
that had to be huge for you.
Oh, huge. But it just goes to show you how God has worked in my life. God has set all these things up in my life to do the things that I've done, and I give him all the praise and all the credit for it. He has put great people in my life, like James Brown, like Doug Steele, to just pave the way for me, and then I try to pass that on.
Yeah, amen to that.
Yes.
Yeah, so kind of talk about that transition from Tennessee into Georgia.
Well, that was something as well. I was the program director for WJBE in Knoxville, okay, the James Brown station. Okay, well, to show you how God sets things up, Hank Spann was here in Atlanta. He was leaving to go to New York City. Okay, well, there was an opening, so Doug Steele, who hired me in Knoxville, was here. And he called me and he said, Larry, we have an opening here at WAOK. Do you want to come? I was like, I'll be on the next thing smoking.
Yeah.
But I had to give my notice. I wanted to be right about it. So I contacted Mr. Brown and told him I was putting in my 2 weeks notice. He flew into Knoxville to try to convince me to stay. Wow. The ratings were good for the radio station. They were making money. And he came in and we were in the control room. The announcer could not even go on the radio because he was trying to convince me to stay. And I said, Mr. Brown, my mind is made up. I'm going to Atlanta. And he said, well, if you feel that way, you know, go on to Atlanta, have a great time. And he said, Mr. Featherstone, take Bud Tinsley in there and give him a bonus. He said, we're going to send him on his way to Atlanta right. So I thought I was going to get this big $1,000 bonus or $2,000 bonus, right?
Yeah.
So I walked in and Ralph Featherstone sent me this check across the table, and it was $50. And I said, thank you, and I was on my way.
Man.
Yeah, so they let me go early, and I came to Atlanta, and I've been here since 1971.
Wow, okay. So that's a good story that you have right there. I mean, the fact that he tried to convince you, and then he wanted you to stay so bad, and he flew in personally.
He did.
Like, that's huge.
He did. I was enjoying my stay in Knoxville because that was my hometown. My mother was there, my sisters and everybody. And but Atlanta, I was calling my name. And I just saw a greater opportunity here in Atlanta with a bigger audience, more opportunities for advancement and income as well. And actually the salary that I was making was only $10 more than I was making in Knoxville. But I knew that I could make more on the outside of the radio station, doing discos and parties and things like that. And it worked out for my good.
Yeah, that's good. So now that you're here in the A.
Yes, yes.
So WAOK, talk about your experience over there. You know, they are obviously affiliated with V103's. Right. So talk about, kind of your experience with WAOK.
Well, when I came to WAOK in 1971, we had some great announcers like Zilla Mays and Doug Steele, Dwayne Jones, Bob McKee, just great guys to be around and very personality-oriented individuals. And I learned so much from them because I was like the new kid on the block. And I listened to how they worked, and I listened to their technique and everything, but I knew I wanted to develop a style of my own. And I think that was the uniqueness of the whole staff at that time. Everybody had their own personality, that when your show came on the air, you were different than the person that just left. And that was the key. And I learned so much. I stand on some great shoulders like Zilla Mays and Doug Steele and Tippy Calloway, Brother Esmond Patterson, all these gentlemen who did great things in this market. And now God has allowed me to carry the torch. But I was at AOK for 17 years and enjoyed my time there. And as a matter of fact, I'm still on AOK simulcasting on Sunday mornings. So I'm right back where I started from, even though I'm technically on V103. But AOK was a great station to work for. And it's still a big station today and known for the great things it did during the civil rights movement and the great announcers they had. So I'm just glad to have been a part of that history of the station and still be a part of it today on Sunday mornings when I simulcast on WAOK from V103.
So I have to ask you, I mean, of course, I know you were born with it, but this voice that you have, this voice that you have on the air, like, I mean, people love it, and people love listening to you.
Well, I'm glad about that. Because most people thought that, they think because you're from Tennessee, you're supposed to have this southern drawl, you're supposed to sound like you're from the country or whatever. But I don't know, it's just a part of God's plan for me. I practiced, and I'll go back to the early days of when I practiced for anybody that's trying to achieve their dream. When I knew that I wanted to be a radio announcer, I went home after school every day. I set up a broomstick for my microphone. And my aunt had a turntable that had Jackie Wilson music, Brooke Benton, James Brown, all these artists. And I would have that broomstick as my microphone, and I would put songs on that record player, and I'd introduce all those songs. That's how I really started developing my technique for introducing songs. So when you know what you really want to do in life, and you start early on it, it makes a big difference in your life. And that's what it did for me. Because I wrote a term paper in the 9th grade that I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to write articles for newspapers, things like that. But when I walked into that radio station, my whole attitude just changed. I said, this is what I want to do. I still played basketball with my friends in the afternoons, got a basketball scholarship and all that. But even when I went to college, I knew that radio was my passion. And that when I graduated, this is what I wanted to do. And I was offered a teaching job at my alma mater, Riverside High School in Decaturville, Tennessee. But I was working with James Brown at the time for $110 a week. And I said, I'm staying right here. I'm sticking with my craft and my gift because this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And by the grace of God, I'm still here.
Amen to that.
But the voice is just something that I developed down through the years. I'll tell you about a gentleman that I learned a lot from. His name is Bill Terrell. He's still in Columbia, South Carolina. I used to listen to him on a station called WDIA in Memphis, Tennessee. And this gentleman was awesome on the air. He had a style and just a profile of being that great announcer with personality and everything. I would come home from school every day and listen to him at 4 o'clock. And I just watched his technique to see how he sounded on the air. And he had this voice that just resonated with everybody. And he had Memphis in the palm of his hand. And I said, someday I want to reach that level. I want to just be able to go to a city and say, hey, this city really loves what I do, and then I can love them back. But as far as the voice is concerned, this is what God has given me, and I'm going to use it to the day I die.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We still have more great show for you. What's up, everybody? I'm Tyrik Wynn, the host of Tyrik on the Move, and as some of you know, I've been doing this show for almost 3 years now on YouTube and other social media platforms, but now I am looking to move to television. Yes, I said it, television. So now I am calling all television networks out there to seek this show. If you guys are seeking new content in the season, please check out our show, Tyrik on the Move. Just go to my YouTube channel and check out the Tyrik on the Move reel to see what we're all about. Production@fcbtv.com. Hey everybody. everybody, I'm Tyrik Wynn, the host of the awesome show, Tyrik on the Move. And the Tyrik on the Move staff and I, we are calling all business owners out there to come and advertise on the show. We do commercials, we do product placement, we do it all. All we need is you, all the businesses out there, to come and advertise on the show. If you would like to advertise on the show, just send an email to winproductionsllc@gmail.com. Yep, man,
Yes.
that's a blessing to have a voice like
Amen.
that.
Amen.
Yeah, so you actually got an award for that voice too.
Yeah. Well, I've gotten several awards.
Yeah.
They've given me a Lifetime Achievement Award. I've been awarded with from several organizations. And a couple of years ago, I was voted into the Georgia Radio Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one for me, to let me know that people from around this state have noticed the achievements that I've done down through the years. And it just makes me feel good to know that, that people really like what you do. And but it all comes back to just loving it and then loving the people, because without the people you would not be where you are today, and just keeping God first in your life.
Yeah, that's the really important to do
Yeah.
that. And with the Radio Hall of Fame, when you got inducted into that, talk about what was going through your mind when that happened for you.
I said, is this really happening to me? Because it was such a major achievement. Because when you reach that pinnacle, and there's another award too, that I received the Stellar Award as Gospel Announcer of the Year back in 1997, and that was a big one too, because it put me on a national stage, and I was very happy about that. And then to come back and be voted into the Hall of Fame a few years later, that really made a big difference as well. So it's really good to know that God has really been watching over me all these years and has blessed me with the talent that I have to give Him glory.
Okay, all right. So now we're here at V103 every weekday from 5 to 6, and every Sunday early in the morning. So tell me, you get up pretty early, because that show starts at 5 a.m. How do you make sure you're here on time, you get up on time?
Well, it's all about a technique of doing what you do and just loving what you do, and just being a part of God's plan. Because God has enabled me to be on at 5 o'clock in the morning to bless the listeners, and the programs, the ratings are good. Sunday morning ratings are good as well, and the longevity factor that God has given me in this industry. I mean, you can only give Him praise. And I tell everybody with every interview that I do, there is no way that I could have reached this pinnacle in my life without God. It's just no way I could have done this on my own, to have going on 51 years in radio and still have this level of success in the industry on a hip hop, R&B and hip hop station here in Atlanta. I'm doing gospel. Yeah. I'm like the old man in the room. But by His grace and by His mercy, I'm still able to do what He's called me to do, and He gets all the glory.
Exactly. Yeah, we gotta give Him all the glory. So, with the radio station and being here on Sundays, when I know obviously you do go to church, but
oh yes.
Yeah. So when do you go?
I go when I get off the air. Okay. I go to New Life Church. Pastor Marlon Harris is our wonderful pastor there. We have an 11:30 service.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. So when I get off the air at 12 noon, I'm praised up already with the music I played. So by the time I get there and he's getting up at around 12:30, I'm in the house, and I can get my word. So it works out beautifully.
Okay. So talk about being on air. Most memorable interview.
Most memorable interview would probably have to be with Kirk Franklin on the gospel side, and I guess George Clinton on the R&B side. Yeah. Because I've had both areas. But Kirk Franklin and I have become very, very dear friends. We've known he brought it up. He said we've known each other for 27 years. I didn't know it had been that long. But every time he comes to town, he always stops by to say hello. And he's one of the greatest gospel artists out there now. Yeah. And to have him as a friend of mine in the industry, it makes me feel good.
Okay. Now I have to ask you, 51 years in the game, what is your secret to longevity?
That's a good question. I try to without health, if you're not healthy, you cannot succeed in this industry. You have to maintain your health. So what I do is I eat right, I exercise. I went swimming yesterday, so I try to keep myself physically fit, and I try to watch what I put into my body as far as food is concerned, because you are what you eat. And so when it comes to the fried chicken, the fried fish, and all those things, those have been long gone. My plates are basically vegetables and just very little meat now, but I try to exercise about 3 or 4 times a week. And it keeps me, in order to run this race, you have to maintain your health. And I tell all the announcers that are coming up these days to try to stay healthy.
Yeah, I need you to help me, because this fried chicken is hard to get away from it.
Well, when I was your size and your age, it was the same way with me. But as I got older, I realized I had to make a change.
Yeah, got you. Well, I mean, you've been here so long. Is there, anything you like to leave with the audience? Anything in that nature?
Well, I would like to say, first of all, I give God the glory for the success that I've achieved in this industry. 51 years is a long time to be in any city and to still maintain a level of success. And to be on this hip R&B and hip-hop station here in Atlanta, V103, I thank them as well. I'm just so grateful for the road that God has planted for me down through the years. He's ordered my steps. They've been ordered by Him. I understand that. I know that it takes a higher power to achieve this kind of success at my age and still being able to do it. And to all those who are trying to achieve your dream, don't give up, because it could be just one day away. Keep pursuing those dreams. There'll be naysayers who'll tell you that you can't make it. I've had mine, you're gonna have yours. But by all means, stay on that road. Achieve that success that you're looking for. Keep God first in your life, and He'll take you to heights higher than you ever dreamed or imagined. That's from Larry Tinsley.
Hey man, I like the way you close that out.
You like that?
Yes.
I thought you would.
I like that too. Yeah.
I had to throw it in, Tyrik. I had to throw it in.
I was actually about to ask you to say it too.
Okay. Do you know people get mad when I don't do it if I go to a church? One lady came up to me and she said, Larry Tinsley, I'm mad at you. And I said, what's wrong? She said, you did not do my line. I said, what line is that? She said, you know what line it is. I said, give me your ear, my dear. I said, you like that? I thought you would. Oh, and she just started screaming. And people thought she was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was fun to do. Yeah. That line has followed me all my life since I've been in radio. And it came up by accident. I don't know if you have time for me to tell the story.
Yeah, go ahead.
But it came up by accident. I was doing a syndicated radio program called America's Gospel Spotlight. Okay, we were in the studio one night. And it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We were putting the show together, and there was this song that was playing. I think "Available to You" by Reverend Milton Brunson or something. And it has this nice, soft ending for those of you who know the song. And so I just came behind it and said, "You like that? I thought you would." Well, my producers just started screaming. They said, "Man, that sounded great," So I kept doing it and kept doing it, and my audience caught on to it. And so now everywhere I go, I have to do that line, and also the Triple T from Tennessee line. So those lines follow me everywhere I go, and I'm just thankful that God has given them to me, and I can use them and keep doing what I'm doing.
That you be having the ladies jump, huh?
Well, we from time to time. We won't talk about that.
All right then. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and you've been a blessing.
Hey, I thank you for thinking enough of me to interview me. I appreciate that. I enjoy what I do, and I'm sure you do too. And I'm just glad to be a part of your program. Thank you all so much for viewing.
Yes, okay. Absolutely. And make sure you all are watching Early Morning Praise with Larry Tinsley Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. to 6, and also early on Sunday morning. 6
a.m. to 12 noon, Sunday morning praise on the People Station, V103.
We're back in the Tyrik on the Move studios, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in to that great feature with Mr. Larry Tinsley. Thank you so much, V103, for allowing me to come out to the location and sit down with Mr. Tinsley. And also Mr. Larry Tinsley himself for coming on the show and being a great guest. Oh, but don't go anywhere. We still have more great show for you, and we're going to get right into it. Now it's time for Tyrik's Money Tips. This segment was brought to you by My Book. Green is the Thing, Money Management for Kids. It's a book to teach you how to make, save, and manage your money. And today's money tips is tithes and offerings in church. Now today, actually, I went out to church, World Changers Church. Shout out to my pastor, Pastor Creflo and Taffy Dollar. Great pastors and a great church. Encourage you all to go on out to the church and enjoy one of the sermons that Pastor teaches on. But today, Pastor was talking about tithes and offerings in church and how your relationship with God has a lot to do with your tithes and offerings. So if you have a great relationship with God, then hey, you're listening to Him, and maybe you can say a little prayer one day, say, hey, Lord, what will you have me to give today for this great service? And then the Lord will tell you an amount, and then hey, put that amount in the bucket, put that amount in the envelope, pass it on down, and hey, you just created a harvest, and that will harvest, and that will prosper. So that is Tyrik's Money Tips for today. Now, for a long time, I've been telling you to watch Tyrik on the Move, but these people think that you should watch the show as well.
If you want to be on the move, watch his moves, then you can learn how to be on the move. Tyrik on the Move.
All right, thank you.
Hey, what's up? I'm Marco Russell, and I highly recommend and encourage you to watch Tyrik on the Move.
Hey everybody, it's Frank Ski from the People Station V103 here in Atlanta. On social media at Frank Ski. Make sure you're checking out my guy, Tyrik on the Move.
Hello, make sure to watch Tyrik on the Move.
Watch Tyrese on the Move. Right here, right now, all the time.
Well, you better watch Tyrik on the Move. I do. And listen, when he says he's on the move, well, you're going big places, TV next, I think. We're working that out. So we're both trying to realize our dreams. So support is the name of the game.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. I really am proud of you.
Hello everyone, I'm Larry Tinsley, host of Sunday Morning Praise and Early Morning Praise on the People Station V103, urging you to watch Tyrik Wynn and Tyrik on the Move.
Hi, my name is Ellen Foster. I'm with the McDonough Junior Women's Club, and you should watch Tyrik Wynn on Tyrik on the Move.
Yo, everybody, watch Tyrik on the Move.
I'm Brentford Rogers.
And I'm Darius Wynn, we're the co-founders of Passio. Please go watch Tyrik on the Move.
Hey, what's up? This is Anthony Hamilton, and you better watch Tyrik on the Move.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sarepta, a podiatrist here in Metro Atlanta, and I encourage you to watch Tyrik Wynn on Tyrik on the Move.
Watch Tyrik on the Move. He's moving, baby.
Now you've heard it from them, and you've heard it from me. So make sure you're watching Tyrik on the Move every Sunday on Facebook and YouTube at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now it's almost time to close out the show, unfortunately, but I can't leave you without giving you some words of wisdom. Now it's time for your encouraging words. And today's encouraging words, yep, you guessed it. Make sure you're listening to Sunday Morning Praise and Early Morning Praise with Mr. Larry Tinsley on the People Station V103 every morning. Don't forget, Monday through Friday from 5 to 6 a.m. and also on Sundays from 6 to 12 p.m. noon. So make sure you're all tuning in to Mr. Larry Tinsley on the People Station V103, and maybe you're watching, maybe you're not in Atlanta. Well, maybe you're saying, hey, how can I tune in to Mr. Tinsley? You can also go online to radio.com, click that button, and go ahead and log on to Early Morning Praise and Sunday Morning Praise. Thank you all so much for watching this great episode of Tyrik on the Move, and don't forget, we have an event coming up in 2 weeks, the Tyrik on the Move Pin Strikes Takeover. And of course, we gotta give a shout out to our amazing sponsors. Kizzy Cakes, who will be making the great cake for the event. Minuteman Press, who will be making the flyers and other stuff for the event. Wynn Productions LLC. TW News, of course, the show, Tyrik on the Move, my book, and my mom's book, Green is the Thing, Money Management for Kids, Fun Spot America Atlanta. And so Fun Spot is actually donating some free passes to Fun Spot, the amusement park that I actually covered on the last show. So they'll be donating some passes, and we'll be giving those out at the Pin Strikes Takeover. Also, Chef Brian Reynolds, he's a caterer, and hey, he's a celebrity chef, and he can cook an amazing meal for you. Also, Best of Clayton County, and we have so much more space available for you to sponsor. It is not too late, so if you're interested in sponsoring, all you gotta do is call us up at 754-225-2805, or you can send an email to winproductionsllc@gmail.com, and we can go ahead and get you scheduled away for some great sponsorship. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this amazing episode of Tyrik on the Move. Thank you all once again for tuning in to this great episode of Tyrik on the Move, and I'll see you next week. And I'll also see you at the Tyrik on the Move Pin Strikes Takeover. Make sure you go online to eventbrite.com, type in the Tyrik on the Move Pin Strikes Takeover so you can get your free but limited tickets to the great event. See you then.